At my sister's engagement dinner, there was no place card with my name. She laughed and said, "Didn't think you'd actually show up." I ate quietly at the bar when the 2800 bill came. The waiter handed it to me until my girlfriend leaned over and said, "We're not on the guest list. Try the bride." For as long as I can remember, I was the family ATM. My younger sister Sarah was the golden child. I was the one expected to fund her lifestyle. So, when she announced her engagement dinner at one of the most exclusive, ridiculously expensive steakhouses in the city, I already knew my role. I was the walking wallet. I arrived 15 minutes early with my girlfriend, Maya. We were dressed to the nines, carrying a gift that cost me a week's pay. The private dining room was breathtaking. A long mahogany table was set for 20 people. Crystal glasses, silver cutlery, the works. Maya and I walked around the table, scanning the beautifully calligraphed place cards. Nothing. We circled it twice. My parents were there. Sarah's future in-laws were there. Her bridesmaids. But no card for me. No card for Maya. I caught Sarah's eye across the room. She was holding a glass of champagne, surrounded by her friends. I walked up to her, my voice low. "Hey, I think the restaurant made a mistake. Our seats aren't set." Sarah looked me up and down, then let out a sharp, mocking laugh. "Oh, they didn't make a mistake," she smirked, taking a slow sip of her drink. "I just didn't think you'd actually show up. We didn't have the space to waste on maybes." The disrespect hit me like a physical punch. My own sister's engagement. She hadn't even factored me into the seating, but she had definitely factored me into the budget. I felt Maya stiffen beside me. The old me, the people-pleasing, desperate for approval brother, would have awkwardly laughed it off. I would have pulled a chair up to the corner and paid for the privilege of being ignored. Instead, I just looked at her. Really looked at her. "I see," I said. My voice was completely flat. I didn't yell. I didn't cause a scene. I just turned around and walked away. But instead of leaving, Maya and I walked straight to the mahogany bar at the opposite end of the room. We took 2 open stools completely out of the way, but with a perfect view of the table. For the next 2 hours, we sat in comfortable silence. I ordered a neat bourbon. Maya ordered a martini. We watched the spectacle unfold. Sarah was holding court. The waiters brought out towers of seafood, dry-aged tomahawk steaks, and endless bottles of vintage wine. Every time a new exorbitant item was brought to the table, I could see Sarah throw a quick smug glance toward the bar. She thought she had humiliated me. She thought she had put me in my place. But more importantly, she assumed the natural order of the universe was still intact. She assumed I was still paying. Maya and I ordered 2 smash burgers at the bar. We ate slowly, enjoying the music, enjoying each other's company. We were completely detached from the circus happening 10 feet away. Around 10 p.m., the plates were cleared. The laughter at the main table died down as the head waiter approached. He was carrying a thick black leather book, a bill. He stood near Sarah and her fiancé, discreetly asking how the check would be handled. Sarah didn't even look at the bill. She just smiled lazily, raised her hand, and pointed a manicured finger directly across the room. Directly at me, the waiter nodded politely and began making the long walk over to the bar. My heart started a slow, rhythmic pounding in my chest. Not from panic, but from an icy, overwhelming sense of anticipation. The waiter stopped beside my stool. He looked incredibly uncomfortable. "Excuse me, sir," he murmured. "The bride said you would be taking care of the evening's expenses." He gently placed the leather book on the bar. I glanced down. The total was printed in bold at the bottom. $2,045.50. I reached for my wallet, but before my fingers even grazed the leather, Maya shifted in her seat. She leaned over, picked up the black book, and held it back out to the waiter. Her expression was completely serene, her voice smooth as glass, carrying just loud enough in the quiet room. "I'm sorry, there's been a misunderstanding," Maya said, offering a polite, devastating smile. "We're not on the guest list. Try the bride." The waiter froze. He looked at Maya, then at me. I took out a $50 bill and a 20, placing them on the bar to cover our burgers and drinks. "Keep the change," I told the bartender. The head waiter slowly turned around and walked the black book back to the main table. Maya and I stood up. I helped her into her coat. We didn't rush. We took our time. By the time we walked past the table toward the exit, the reality had hit. The waiter had just handed the $2,800 bill to Sarah's fiancé, whose face had drained of all color. He was frantically scrolling through his banking app. Sarah was staring at me, her mouth slightly open, panic rising in her chest as she realized her credit cards were already maxed out. She mouthed the word "please." I didn't smile. I didn't frown. I didn't say a single word. I just looked right through her, pushed open the heavy glass doors, and walked out into the cool night air with a woman who truly had my back. It was, without a doubt, the most satisfying meal of my entire